China's fake green initiative is ruining the world.
Now, in case you didn't know, we're not just some news pundits sitting here reading off data. Both Winston and I have ridden around China. I'm going to assume, like, just me, myself, over 100,000 kilometers on a motorcycle. You're probably around the same. We rode together from north to south, east to west, across the entire country, and we have seen what China's coal output actually looks like. Yeah, so no worries. We sent our new intern out there. He's going to go send over that really important data you've been waiting for.
Great doing business with ya. Hey, I heard about this place. Crash Override Coffee. It's awesome. Apparently you get great acid burns. Well, I need internet to send that file. Oh, awesome. They've got free Wi-Fi.
You did what? You just used unsecured internet at a coffee shop to send our most sensitive, our most important data? Oh my God, what are we going to do? Look, we're going to lose everything. The sensitive data, the sensitive file was just stolen.
Guys, hang on a second. I know what we're gonna do. Just relax, sit down, it's not too late. Let's call in the Surf Shark.
Looks like I'm needed somewhere.
Once installed on the intern's laptop, using open Wi-Fi was never a problem again.
Today's video is brought to you by Surfshark. Surfshark is a modern VPN designed with the user in mind. What is a VPN though? Well, VPN is this cool tool that actually encrypts all the data sent via the internet, protecting your passwords, private messages, all your photos and videos. Everything you're doing online keeps you anonymous, keeps you encrypted, it keeps you safe. And Surfshark is the VPN that we use today. The people at Surfshark care so much about security that they created a VPN that provides IP and DNS leak protection so no one can find out where you're connecting from. And also they maintain a strict no-log policy so that there's no trace left behind of what you've been doing online. Not only are you safe online, you're actually going to be able to unlock 15 of the largest Netflix country libraries, which means that you can go around the world and see what other people can see in those countries on Netflix. One subscription allows you to run and install Surfshark on an unlimited number of devices at the same time. And it's compatible with everything. PC, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS, smart TVs, anything you can imagine you can run Surfshark on. If you go to surfshark.deals/ADVChina and you use the code ADVChina, you're going to get 83% off a 2-year plan. Plus you're going to get 3 extra months for free. And you'll be supporting the channel. Thanks.
Not only that, the coal trucks. There are certain parts, especially along the east coast of China, when you're riding up, where it's relentless. Yeah. For days, you're just passing coal trucks, like trains of coal trucks, and they're just it boggles the mind. You've never seen anything like this before. You think you've seen traffic if you've ever been to LA or whatever. You think that's traffic. No. We're talking about trains that go on for days of just coal trucks, and they destroy their roads and they destroy everything around them. Everything looks dirty and disgusting, and every little town you pass through is just covered in soot.
Yes. Now, you would think that because of this, because of the sheer amount of coal, the sheer amount of carbon output, the sheer amount of pollution that comes out of China, you would think that China wouldn't be a global leader in green technology, pushing the world forward for green technology. Yet here we are, where we have world leaders, we have people running massive organizations that keep congratulating China for pushing the world's green technology forward. And I just don't understand how we got to this point.
Well, it's a smokescreen.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Now, this is absolute truth, everybody out there. What China's doing right now is it's putting out these big green technology initiatives in order to hoodwink you into thinking that they're okay. That it's to divert your attention away from the fact that they're actually burning more coal than anyone else in the world, and they keep increasing it. It's kind of like someone who's a terrible criminal, but he donates to charity, and people see, oh look, this lovely man donates to charity. Meanwhile, he's like the worst criminal in the world.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I would forgive you for being fooled, because what you see is the final product, or is the output of China's image in propaganda. You don't get to see what actually China does.
Yeah, you can't see what China does. They block the outside world from looking in. It's not like in countries like America where there's huge scrutiny by the press, the international press. Everybody knows what's going on in America. Some little misstep and the whole world is hyper-focused on it. In China, they block everything out. You don't see it.
I mean, we're talking about the country here that paints the hills green.
Yeah.
Quite literally, they use paint to make a place look green when it's not actually green.
Yeah.
The country is more focused on face and investment in its appearance to the rest of the world than actually the environment. I mean, we're also talking about a country that runs power to windmills when there's leaders in town. When there's CCP officials in town, they will literally run power to windmills to actually
make
power
them
them
turn.
because they don't work, right? We're looking at a country now that's being congratulated for being the world's pioneer in green technology when they themselves are the worst polluter in the world, and they're making it worse. Because just recently, we actually found out there's some information that was coming out that has just been released that in 2022, the Chinese government had already approved like over 100 gigawatts more of dirty coal power, right? That's not even the beginning of it, though. In total, it's looking like China approved 270 gigawatts total of new coal-fired projects.
Oh, yeah, it's insane.
So we're looking at the rest of the world go like this.
Yeah.
In Europe and America go like this, reducing coal output, even in the face of energy crisis. Right?
Sure.
In China, literally skyrocketing to the stratosphere to increase CO2 emissions, which is now more than the rest of the world combined.
Yeah.
And coal emissions, which is now more than the rest of the world combined.
So it's 6 times more than the whole world combined?
Their coal output is 6 times
Yeah.
the entire world's output.
Yeah.
It's
insane.
What's going on?
Again, people see these lovely pictures of wind turbines and solar farms and stuff, and they're like, oh, wow, China's got such great green initiatives. And everybody's falling for this because it doesn't matter. China can have the most green technology in the world. It doesn't matter because it's completely outweighed by its dirty coal-burning infrastructure, which is more than its green infrastructure by a long shot. And it's the majority of the power generation in China comes from these dirty coal plants.
The Chinese government's power supersedes everything, too. So think about it. All this investment that's coming from the outside world for China's green technology, do you actually think it's going towards real green technology?
No.
I mean, if you've been to China, you know what a counterfeit culture it actually is because of the Chinese government.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually reward real work and real initiative.
Yeah.
It rewards corruption and bribery.
Correct.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this investment going into green technology is funding coal plants.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not even joking.
It's just stupid again. It's smoke and mirrors. Look at these wonderful green power plants here. Meanwhile, the real deal, let's burn as much coal as we can. Let's destroy the environment as much as we can. And as long as we keep those meddling foreigners happy with some pandas and some cool-looking solar power plants and look at our great green initiatives, we get to do what we want.
Yeah, I guess my biggest problem too is that the rest of the world, and I'm on board with trying to reduce emissions. I'm on board with trying to make the world a better place and focus on environmental issues because obviously we only get one world, right? Mm-hmm. That aside, I get mad because the rest of the world seems to be beholden to this idea that they have to do everything in their power to reduce emissions. They have to do everything in their power to make the world a better place, and that's good.
Yeah.
But China doesn't have to do that, and then they also get the gold medal for doing it.
That's what annoys me the most is very often I see people pointing to China as a shining example of green technology, whereas China's the worst example because they're doing the most damage to the earth.
I mean, you were talking earlier about the whole farmer thing in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
Farmers not being able to farm because of carbon emissions, right? People, having to go get rid of their old cars and move towards EVs and things like this. All of these things are like minute steps that actually probably do reduce carbon emissions, but China just supersedes all that stuff and makes it all unnecessary almost.
Yeah, in fact, all the good that the rest of the world is doing is completely useless because it's just being taken over it's steamrolled by the amount of coal and CO2 emissions that China is putting out. So you can reduce your reliance on fossil fuels as a country. You can bring down your emissions as much as you want. China will just take up that vacuum and then some.
Yeah. I mean, Winston and I, like we said, we lived in China over a decade. And we saw how this works. I mean, we're all rooting for China, but China has gone from this kind of like world player, like, yeah, we want to participate on the world stage, to we get to do whatever we want and we'll lie about it too.
Yeah.
I don't understand how everyone's putting up with this. And then also, dignitaries and people walking around shaking hands with leaders in China with their new green tech momentum going forward. I just don't understand how we're at this point and nobody's criticizing it.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't
want to think we're the only people doing it.
maybe you've realized in the news recently, you may have seen this horrendous mining accident that just happened in China. It looks like the ocean, a big ocean wave, and it just engulfs all these mining vehicles.
Yeah.
Maybe that's woken you up to the fact that coal mining is such a huge part of what's going on in China. Maybe you've heard that Australia is celebrating because China is once again importing coal from Australia. In fact, China, remember, in order to punish Australia because they didn't like some of the questions that politicians were asking, they're like, oh yeah, well then we're not going to buy your coal.
Right.
Guess what? After a little while, China had to buy the coal again because they are consuming so much coal. These mining accidents, this export of coal, it just shows you how reliant China is on coal.
Yeah.
They're stripping the whole world's coal in order to just, burn it.
I'm glad you actually brought up the whole human aspect too.
Yeah.
It's the sheer amount of accidents and deaths surrounding mining accidents in China. I mean, just from 2021 to 2022, the coal mining deaths doubled.
Yeah.
And it shows you how much they're actually mining at that point.
Yeah, they're pushing it. They've had to ramp up their coal mining just to try and keep up with demand and import coal at a huge scale because they have to burn so much of it.
You know what's crazy too, though, is that China used to release mining accident data back when they were kind of on track with participating with the rest of the world before they collapsed into absolute authoritarianism under Xi Jinping. 7,600 people, over 7,600 people would die a year in mining accidents, right?
Yeah.
That compared to the US, it was under 50 or something.
Yeah.
It's insane, right?
Yeah.
Life is so cheap in China, it's not protected in China, that instead of actually trying to face the facts, now they don't even report on it.
No, they don't.
It's ridiculous, and
horrendous.
it's cheap. I used to have students when I taught in Inner Mongolia.
Huge coal mining up there.
Huge coal mining. Yeah. I mean, you used to talk about the truck trains. You'd be in there for hours behind them. You'd have to go through the divots, basically, almost crashing to get past these trucks.
It's terrible.
But you'd have these kids that would be there, 20-something-year-olds, and their parents or their fathers usually would have died in coal mining accidents. It was not uncommon to meet people like this, and it really put a perspective on how dangerous this industry actually is.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere. I guess I wish we were talking about history here.
No.
But it's increasing.
Yeah, and that's the part everybody has to really focus on here, is that China has just greenlit a huge expansion of their coal-burning power plants. So anything that you see about their green technology, just flush it down the toilet. It doesn't matter because they're actually just increasing their crap, dirty power.
Yeah.
The green technology stuff, like I said, and I've said it too many times already, but it is a smokescreen to fool you, so that when you think of China, you think, oh, they're doing the right thing, they're helping the environment, but they're not. They're destroying the environment at a scale that's never been seen before in history and never will again.
Yeah.
I think the only way to honestly combat this issue is to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and suggest people go out there and do things to save the environment. People are responsible enough. I feel like our audience, they are responsible enough. They're not spilling battery acid down the drain or pouring the antifreeze from their car down the toilet, or something like that. Be responsible, obviously, but I think the most important thing is to call out people that keep lauding China's green technology. Yeah. Whenever you see people say, wow, look at China's green initiatives, they're better than the rest of the world, or they've got more, green technology initiatives than the rest of the world, or something like that, remind them that doesn't matter because they've got more coal-burning power plants and they've just greenlit even more. And they really are destroying the earth, not just with the coal power plants, but the illegal fishing around the world, where they've destroyed fish stocks in other countries, everywhere. They're off the coast of, South America, South Africa, everywhere. Around the entire world, these illegal fishing fleets, the Galapagos, they're just destroying, raping the seas. So you've got that combined with this terrible CO2 emission stuff and everything else that they do. They've been releasing those gases that put a massive hole in the ozone layer not that long ago, just a couple of years ago. It's completely unchecked. It's like this steamroller that's just destroying the earth. It's awful.
And if anyone ever hits you with the whole argument about, oh, well, China deserves to have their big industrial revolution because we had to do it back in the day, it doesn't matter. We only do get one Earth. It's not about tit for tat. You do get one chance to not mess up the entire world. And China, unfortunately, is, and I'm sorry to say it, messing up the entire world.
Absolutely. And that whole industrial revolution thing's a bunch of nonsense anyway, because back in the 1800s, people didn't realize what kind of damage
we know
certain things did to the Earth. Now we know, now we have the technology in place to actually prevent this kind of damage. There are technologies when it comes to coal-burning power plants that can reduce damage to the earth. China doesn't implement that because it's costly and it takes time. You know, there are many things, certain banned chemicals which we don't use because it damages the ozone layer. Chinese factories, they want to take a shortcut, they use these chemicals and they damage the ozone layer. So you're talking about a completely irresponsible country that doesn't need to be polluting as much as it is, but they do because it's cheaper and easier, and they can get away with it because no one's holding them to account, and all these big world organizations just keep congratulating them on, oh, you built another solar power plant, you know? No one's inspecting to see if those things are even hooked up or doing anything. Because, I mean, if they were actually effective, why do you need to build so many more new coal-burning power plants? You know? Anyway, don't want to leave you on such a sour note, but please pay attention, guys. Stop letting China pull the wool over your eyes because it's ridiculous. And this, I don't know, the damage is done, but like, if we can prevent more damage in the future through dialogue and calling people out, especially these stupid organizations that keep sucking up to China and praising them all the time rather than holding them to account, you know, I think we can enact some change here. Yeah, so until the next video, guys, thank you for watching, and as always, stay awesome.